The rain fell hard that morning in Providence, streaking the courthouse windows like silent tears as Judge Frank Caprio adjusted his robe and reviewed a docket filled with routine cases, parking violations, expired meters, late payments. Nothing unusual, just another quiet day of justice, though he did not know his courtroom and heart would be changed forever before the day ended. When the clerk called the next case and the doors creaked open, a young woman stepped forward in a worn gray coat, her shoulders tense, holding the hand of a little girl no taller than the judge's bench, her wide brown eyes steady with a calm, fragile determination that drew every gaze. Leaning forward, Judge Caprio greeted them gently, and the mother introduced her daughter, Emma, who lifted her chin and softly said she had come because she had something to say. The courtroom fell into an almost sacred silence as Emma stepped forward, clutching a crumpled, rain-dampened piece of paper, and told the judge she had made a wish she could not make come true without his help, explaining in a trembling voice that the wish was for her mother, as murmurs rippled through the room and, for a moment, every other case on the docket disappeared. The question lingered in the air: what kind of wish could bring an 8-year-old girl into a courtroom? Judge Caprio did not yet know the answer, but he could feel that something extraordinary was about to unfold as he studied the woman before him, Maria Alvarez, who looked utterly exhausted, weighed down not just by fatigue but by life itself, her soaked coat, hastily pulled back hair, and kind eyes marked by the quiet panic of someone surviving one day at a time. Glancing at the file, he read aloud the details of 3 unpaid parking citations totaling $165, all over 30 days old, and as Maria nodded softly and confirmed the balance, his voice gentled, reminding her why she had been required to appear. She swallowed hard and admitted she had tried to pay but could not, and as her daughter Emma squeezed her hand, a small but telling gesture, the judge noticed, the moment growing heavier with unspoken meaning. Leaning forward, Judge Caprio asked Maria to tell him about herself and where she worked, and she hesitated, unsure whether honesty might make things worse, before quietly explaining that she cleaned offices during the day and cared for elderly patients at night, sometimes overlapping both jobs, leaving her with only 3 or 4 hours of sleep and relying on her car to travel between them. As the judge reviewed the citations, one at a hospital parking zone, another downtown, and one near City Hall, Maria explained that the hospital ticket came while she was visiting a patient who passed away that night, and she had forgotten to move her car. The courtroom fell completely still, even the clerk pausing her typing, as Caprio sighed and set the papers aside, telling her he saw cases like this often and that while many people were careless, she did not strike him as one, prompting Maria to quickly respond, her voice trembling, that she was not careless at all, only unable to pay. Maria's voice broke as she explained that without her car she would lose both jobs and could not afford the fines or the risk of towing, and the judge turned his attention to the little girl beside her, asking if she had wanted to come to court that day. Emma nodded eagerly and admitted her mother had not wanted her to, but she insisted because she wanted the judge to see that her mother was a good person who helped others every day even when she was exhausted, and she simply wanted to help her for once. As Judge Caprio's voice softened and he asked if Emma truly believed he could help, she nodded again, explaining that she had seen him listen and help people on television and hoped he would listen to them too, filling the courtroom with a quiet murmur as the rain outside began to ease and, behind the bench, the judge felt that familiar ache of compassion no logbook could ever explain. Judge Caprio's voice was soft but curious as he asked Emma to share her wish, reminding her that she had said she could not make it come true without his help. The little girl nodded slowly, fidgeting with the paper in her hands before carefully unfolding it and smoothing the damp creases on the desk, taking a shaky breath while holding the judge's gaze as she spoke in a fragile but clear voice, explaining that her wish was for her mother not to get into trouble that day because it was her birthday. A quiet gasp rippled through the courtroom as Maria covered her mouth in disbelief, whispering her daughter's name, but Emma continued, her courage trembling yet unbroken, saying her mother had been sad for a long time, always apologizing for being tired after working so hard, and that she simply wanted her to be happy for once and wished that someone would be kind to her, just for that day. For a moment no one moved, and the hum of the old ceiling fan grew deafening in the silence as Judge Caprio's expression softened, no longer the stern look of authority but that of a grandfather hearing something sacred. He gently told Emma her wish was beautiful, and as she nodded, she explained there was more, reaching into her small backpack and pulling out a worn plastic jar with its label peeled away, filled with nickels, dimes, and a few quarters that clinked softly as she set it on the table. Proudly, she said she had been saving it for when her mother needed help and thought she could pay some of what was owed, causing Maria's tears to fall freely as she knelt to hold her daughter and whisper that she did not have to do that, only for Emma to shake her head and insist she wanted to. The judge exhaled slowly, overwhelmed, his eyes glistening as he looked between mother and child and quietly asked Emma if she knew how much money it was, to which the girl simply shrugged. The girl admitted softly that it was not enough, but it was all she had, and the courtroom became utterly still, with lawyers, officers, and even the camera crew afraid to disturb the moment as Judge Caprio leaned back, his voice thick with emotion, telling everyone that in all his years on the bench he had seen anger, guilt, and regret, but never anything like a little girl who believed kindness could pay a debt. The bailiff turned away, blinking hard, and when Caprio looked back at Emma he spoke gently, saying that maybe, just maybe, her wish would come true that day, because everyone in the room understood this was no longer about fines but about love, innocence, and a kind of justice no law could define. Leaning forward again, his voice nearly a whisper, the judge asked Emma how much she had saved, and she shyly twisted the lid of the jar and replied that she did not know for sure, but the last time she counted it came to $9.23. Emma turned the jar upside down, spilling the coins onto the desk so that quarters, dimes, and nickels clinked softly through the silent courtroom, each coin a small symbol of sacrifice and a refusal to give up. Judge Caprio stared at the pile, pausing before softly saying, $9.23, repeating the amount as if feeling its weight, remarking that it was a fortune in kindness. Maria, standing beside her daughter, covered her face in tears, whispering that Emma had been saving the money for a school trip, but the little girl firmly replied that she did not care, she just wanted her mother to be happy. The courtroom remained utterly still, no papers shuffled, no coughs, no murmurs, as everyone witnessed something rare, a child teaching the world the meaning of true justice. Caprio straightened, his usually steady hands trembling slightly, and told Emma that what she had just done was one of the most beautiful things he had ever seen in his courtroom, then turned to the clerk. The clerk confirmed that Maria owed a total of $165, and Judge Caprio leaned back, sighing deeply, turning to the courtroom cameras with his voice breaking as he declared that this moment, was what justice truly looked like, not punishment or power, but love, the words hanging in the air like a prayer. Gazing again at the coins, he murmured, $9.23 toward $165, not enough for the system, but enough for the soul, then paused, seemingly deciding something unspoken, before quietly calling for a short recess. But before he could rise, something unexpected happened. A man in a construction uniform from the back row walked forward, holding a folded bill and offering it toward Maria's fine, explaining that his daughter was about her age and he could not sit by without helping, leaving Caprio blinking in surprise as another hand rose. An elderly woman clutched her purse and offered $20, her voice trembling, and then one by one, others from all corners of the courtroom, strangers of different lives, races, and professions, stepped forward to help. A police officer placed $20 on the bench, a lawyer added $50, and someone whispered, "God bless them." Within minutes, bills and coins covered the desk where only Emma's jar had been. The bailiff turned away to wipe his eyes, and the clerk sniffled as she tried to count. When the total reached $165, Judge Caprio exhaled deeply, removing his glasses, and announced, his voice unsteady, that the fine had been paid not by one person, but by everyone present, turning to Emma and telling her that her wish had come true because she reminded them all what kindness looks like. Gentle applause filled the courtroom, Maria sobbed into her hands, and Emma smiled shyly. Imagine this. An 11-year-old girl walks into Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom with an attitude strong enough to silence a room full of adults. Her name is Chloe Bennett, and although she isn't the one on trial, everyone can sense the real storm is about to come from her. It's a quiet Wednesday afternoon in Providence Municipal Court, the air filled with paperwork, murmurs, and echoing footsteps, as Judge Caprio sits at the bench with his glasses low, reviewing what appears to be an ordinary case. Laura Bennett, 34, cited for 3 unpaid parking tickets and an expired vehicle registration, nothing that hints at the emotional upheaval ahead. When the bailiff calls the case and the heavy wooden doors open, Laura enters first, tired-eyed in nurse's scrubs that speak of double shifts and skipped meals, her posture burdened by silent struggles and careful steps shaped by a lifetime of apologizing for taking up space. Then comes Chloe, a small hurricane of defiance wrapped in pink, wearing a sleeveless hoodie with the word swag splashed across the front, spotless sneakers, and clutching an orange iPhone as her thumbs race across the screen, earbuds hanging loose with faint video noise playing as she walks in without looking up. Not at the judge, the bailiff, or even her exhausted mother, drawing stares of disbelief from the courtroom while Laura glances back with a wordless plea in her eyes that says, "Please, not today." Judge Caprio had written something new on the jar in black ink. Emma's jar, the price of compassion, the coin inside still rattling softly, a sound he said reminded him of rain, constant, humble, and cleansing. When a reporter asked what made the case different, he smiled gently and said, "Justice isn't a machine. It's a heartbeat, and sometimes it takes a child to remind us that mercy is part of the law, too." That evening, Maria and Emma returned to the courthouse to thank everyone, cameras flashing and people cheering, as the little girl looked up at the judge and asked softly if she had done good. Kneeling beside her, Caprio told her she had done more than good. She had made grown men cry and reminded everyone to be better, prompting a giggle from Emma as he placed the jar back on his desk, a small monument to humanity. As the courthouse emptied, he whispered to himself, if one little girl can move a courtroom, what else can kindness change? Stories like this, he reflected, don't just belong in courtrooms, they belong in our hearts, because every act of compassion, no matter how small, sends ripples we may never see, and somewhere, someone right now might be waiting for one. Somewhere, someone might be waiting for the same kind of mercy Emma had shown her mother. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to believe in goodness again, because maybe, just maybe, the next miracle begins with you. As the narrator's voice fades, the screen lingers on Judge Caprio's desk, the jar glinting softly under the courtroom lights, before returning calm but curious, hinting that next time a man will stand before the same judge, his story testing the meaning of forgiveness in unexpected ways. The screen fades to black, a heartbeat of silence passes, and then just 3 words appear, to be continued.